It is 101. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. It is now official. The Nashville Predators are keeping the franchise's all-time leading scorer, as was reported first by 3HL's own Don Davenport over the weekend. Filip Forsberg agreed on an 8-year deal with the Preds. General manager David Poile and Forsberg himself met with the media earlier today, and Forsberg discussed the one missing piece in his career with Nashville.
The only thing we're missing is the Stanley Cup, and that's the main driver for all of us. I mean, that's the motivation in the summer. That's when you try to get better for. Individual stuff is fun and all, but at the end of the day, I want to sit back in the couch and look at a Stanley Cup ring, and that's my ultimate motivation.
Again, Forsberg's deal, 8 years, an average of $8.5 million per year. It's a big week for the Atlanta Braves after sweeping the Nationals over the weekend. Atlanta is red hot and 1.5 games back of the Mets in the NL East. They are hosting the Mets this week at Truist Park, a 3-game series starting tonight at 6:20. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
.1045 The Zone, your home for Titans and the Vols, is right here. It's also the home of Blaine and Mickey. I am not Mickey. I am Rhett Bryan, filling in for Mickey, who's a little under the weather. But the hitman, Blaine Bishop, is riding here alongside for the next couple of hours. Going to have a good show today. Jill Jelnick, she is the lady that takes care of everything sports on Fox 17, will join us here in 20 minutes. And then at 2:20, we'll have the Ding Dong of the Week. You got yours ready?
Oh, yeah, my ding-dong's always ready.
And that here we go.
Maybe you don't know that.
So we got a lot to cover. Filip Forsberg and the deal with the Predators got done, and much to the delight of Preds fans all over the place. And I know Mickey has really been pounding the table going, what are we doing? Get the deal done. But General Manager David Poile got it done. Filip Forsberg is a Predator for the foreseeable future with an 8-year deal. Something else, too, is University of Tennessee and Josh Heupel are bringing in the recruits. They have now a top 5 recruiting class right now.
Isn't that amazing?
Golly, got a couple of big ones yesterday.
Now, if they keep going up this mountaintop, expectations are going to be skyrocketing.
Off the charts.
8 or 9 wins is probably about the expectation, right? You could look at the schedule based off what they did last year. I think now they're going to get to 10 and 11 in the mind, the fans' mind. It's going to just change. It's going to go
completely.
Like most of these guys may be part-time players, potentially great starters, probably year 2, but their impact, not knowing everybody who's coming in, but maybe not as impactful besides the guys that are already there. Almost like the NIL money, right? You get money before you even show what you can do on the field. That is not good.
But you're right about the expectations, because this is much like, when an NFL team in the offseason adds marquee free agents and they've had a good draft, and all of a sudden it's like, man, they're ready to, take the next Super Bowl. But you got to wait a minute, we still have to play, 4 quarters and all those good things. That shows
they're going in the right direction. They're starting to get in the recruiting class, and you start stacking those recruiting classes back to back. Then next thing you know, now you're in the hunt to compete for the SEC. So that's exciting just to see that they're moving up the ladder in the recruiting services. And Heupel is easy to sell, man, isn't it? A great place to play, as well as that offense is really dynamic, and you see them now impacting the defense and starting to get some heavy hitters. That's when it's really, you go, uh-oh.
And that's what they did yesterday, taking 4-star edge rusher Chandavian Bradley, the number 1 player in Missouri, number 32 player in the country. He commits to the University of Tennessee for 2023. And then a 4-star linebacker from Georgia, Jalen Smith, who is a track star and going to be an up-and-comer in this thing. So that's a couple of big ones for the 2023 class for the University of Tennessee in football.
Quiz for Lucas.
Okay.
I saw this over the weekend. I did not retweet it. I think I remember who tweeted it now. But UT in the recruiting, UT had 5 different guys, 3 of them were number 1 in their state in recruiting. From where the ranked number 1 in their state. So do you know all these players and where they were ranked because it was like 5 or 6 of them that were in the top 3 in their state in recruiting, which was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that Caleb Herring's the number 1 player in Tennessee for the class of 2023, right here in our backyard in Murfreesboro.
Okay. Give us some information we don't know. But I want some help here.
Chandavian Bradley's the top-rated player in Missouri. Is the number 5 edge rusher in the country, according to 247 Sports. Outside of that, just thinking about their highest-rated prospects, it's not Shamu Marov. It's not the tight end Ethan Davis. Those are 2 high 4-star guys out of Georgia. Nico Iamaleava, I'm not sure where he stacks up as far as California goes across the board positionally.
Mm-hmm.
But
didn't we get someone from Missouri, number 1? Yeah, Kentucky?
Chandavian Bradley was the commit yesterday. Okay. The 5-star from yesterday is from Missouri. Christian Conyers, that's the Kentucky prospect that you're talking about. Depends what rating you're looking at. There's some that have him as the top prospect, a 4-star out of Bowling Green. There's some that have him as 3 or 4 in the state. Was certainly highly coveted by the Kentucky Wildcats. They were Tennessee's main competition for his commitment. Yeah. But yeah, you're seeing it happen with a few different positions.
I think it was on Rocketology Twitter handle. Is that a Twitter handle? I think it's something like that, because it showed 5 or 6 guys, and I was like, had that ever happened in the UT recruiting history? I'm sure back in the day they had some great players that they recruited, but here recently in the last 10 years to be in like 5 or 6 recruits that were in different states. I think it was Missouri, naturally Tennessee. I think the other one may have been, Georgia, and then it was another state.
If you're getting a kid out of IMG Academy and, you're getting a kid out of Florida, even if the kid's not from Florida and wasn't raised in Florida. Right. But, yeah, I mean, as far as recent history, obviously what Butch Jones did in 2015 and 2014 brought in a top 4 class, number 4 class in the country. But when you look back at it, a lot of the top-tier guys in that class were legacies, right? Khalil McKenzie, whose dad is obviously Reggie, Vic Wharton, guys whose dads, Vic Wharton and who was the linebacker, Dylan Bates, the son of Bill Bates, legendary linebacker at Tennessee. A lot of those guys didn't work out, and Butch had that advantage as far as legacy goes. But when you look at how that class sort of transpired with their college career, very, very small percentage of those guys actually stayed and completed their careers at Tennessee. A lot transferred, maybe medically retired, or the situation just didn't end well on the field. So Tennessee's had that success. They just haven't seen it come to fruition, which is why I think there might still be an element of reserve from fans when they just look at surface level big-time recruiting ratings. Like, it's July. July's a lot more important now than it was before the early signing period, but it is something to keep an eye on for sure. It's a good trend, though, for Josh Heupel.
Yeah, especially since it hadn't been happening for a while. So, yeah, you get excited and you get pumped up. So, I'd be interested. So, you think that the fans would be calm, since you're a UT grad, that they'll be calm, cool, like, oh, this is great. I mean, but we're still just on the way up.
Yeah. I look, think about 2 years ago. 2 years ago from right now, Tennessee had the number 3 class in the country with Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, they had secured commitments, a 5-star prospect here, a 5-star linebacker out of Alabama.
Got it.
That all collapsed on itself pretty quickly. So nothing's guaranteed
Eureka.
In this world of recruiting. What did you find?
I found it was Austin _Vols. I was all wrong. Number 1 player in Tennessee, number 1 player in Missouri, number 1 player in Kentucky, number
Conyers.
2 player in California.
There's Nico.
Yeah, and then number 2 player in Virginia.
Ooh, Virginia.
Who is that? It didn't put the name of the players. But I was just like, whoa, that's 5 states there, your top 2 players. They doing
no wonder they're in the top 5 class in 2023.
Yeah, that's doing business right there in different places, man, all across the country. So,
Blaine, you said you're excited. I'm telling you, I'm excited because Titans training camp begins 2 weeks from this week.
That is crazy.
The first preseason game in Baltimore with a 6:30 Central kickoff, and Titans countdown on an hour before that, and you guys on before that on the Zone 1 month from today. 2 months from today,
the kickoff of the season.
3:25 Central kick.
Against the G-Men.
The G-Men.
Man.
And the New York Football Giants coming to Nissan Stadium.
Man.
So I want to ask you this before we wrap up this first segment. I see guys posting where they're on vacation and stuff. You played it, you did it, you walked it, you talked it. When it gets past the 4th of July, what is your mindset? It would be incredibly hard for me to be on vacation with my family or whoever, knowing that I'm a competitive athlete. My job season really begins. Training camp is around the corner. How do you disconnect from that? What was your mindset when you got to this window of time in the year?
Wow, it was a constant battle. I'm glad you asked that question because, the guys who are really serious about their craft and it's a business to them, yet alone it's still a game, is when you go on vacation, it's really not a vacation. And to a certain extent, because your mind is continually taking yourself back there. So what I did to help me feel more comfortable and actually try to enjoy the vacation, or my wife was just going to drive me up a wall, right? is I'd get up early and go and work out in the gym. Wherever we went, it had to have a gym. And then it had to have a yoga studio. And so then I could get in there and do not only lifting, but I could do my running. And it was always a test. So if I could do 10 sprints at 10 seconds with 20 seconds rest, then I could then pass the test. And that could at least hold me over for the 4-day window until we got back. So I had to figure out throughout the times, because I wanted to not only, pass the test, I wanted to be the fastest. So that was always going to be my, and then until
competitive, just like I talked
the freak
about.
Got there,
yep.
And then the freak just like, I didn't know I'm not a DB. I still can beat you. So then and then Samari. So then it was just finally I was like, well, I'm top 3.
Considering the two guys you just named, Javon Curse and Samari Roll, right. I think it's still good company.
Yeah, so
I think you're fine.
They were really elite athletes.
But that would be hard. Because I understand. It makes total sense, though, is having a gym or some place to put in the work to keep things going, because at this point you're 3, 4, 5 weeks removed from mini camp and the last time that you got together on a practice field with guys, and that with what you're coming up with is really two different things, because this is, you get 3 practices in, the pads come on, and it's muscle memory of the installation of what was happening all during the offseason.
Right, and that's what the buildup is. You do all this work in the offseason to be a better version of yourself. And that's what I tried to do. I can't try to be something that I'm not, but I can be a better version of what the God-given talents that I was given and be better than I was before. So I would always work on weaknesses, which I think a lot of athletes don't do. And I think they're making a grave mistake, because you want to make your weaknesses become your strengths and then grow your game in all formalities of what you do on the football field, whatever position that is. So that's what I would do, and then I would be elated, and I want to see it in action now with video on film of all those things that I worked on. That was the kind of culmination for me when I got on the field, to see all that hard work that I put in that was exhausting at times. And sometimes you're just like, I don't know if I'll ever get to where I want to be.
Pushing through that wall. Where you're like, I'm about to fold.
Right. I wanted every level of my game to be the same. I would use any little thing as motivation. So I just think a lot of guys are kind of content, and this is what they're viewed as, and that's what they're going to be, even though they're still working hard, but they're not trying to continually develop in their weaknesses.
All right, controlling what you can control. Which is what you're talking about. How gratifying was it to see that from, the guys that back then were up on the scissor lifts, filming practice, and you could see it on the video?
Oh man, that's the ultimate for me personally. Whether that gave me the results of being the best or one of the better players at that position, or just being a good player, I felt like that was gratifying to me, because I pushed my body to the limit and exhausted all my athleticism to the peak level. And I think that's what really doesn't happen a lot. And because these guys are so much better athletes now, I don't think they're pushing themselves athletically to the peak of their talent. And that's always interesting to watch, because they could run circles around me if I was still playing today because of their talent. But then I will run circles around me because I pushed myself to that level.
You put in the work.
So it's just always interesting, because I was like, oh, man, if I had that guy's talent, I would have been a Hall of Fame player. Good Lord, man, that guy's awesome. But some guys just don't push themselves to that limit, or they've peaked in their talent. And that was always interesting to me because I always felt like eye control really determines how good you'll actually be. And people go, what? I said, well, I'm not a doctor. I wish I was. I'd be smart if I come up with technology and I'd hit on every draft pick. But as the game progressed, being from a, let's say, smaller program, in that it wasn't a big football power, from Ball State, I get in the league and the guys would run by me. And when I first got on the field as a player on defense, I couldn't even tell you the jersey numbers. And then I then also couldn't tell you as time went on, game 2, game 3, game 4, the game started slowing down, and I can't even explain why it did. And then it became like I'm playing in college. Now I'm about to dominate. Some guys, it just never happens.
The
Whether
light
you went
switch
to Notre
never comes
Dame,
on.
or whether you went to Alabama, wherever you went.
Or Alabama State, or Ball State, or wherever.
And I don't understand why some guys just can't adjust. Maybe, I firmly believe it's because your eyes can't slow the game down to the speed that it's going. TV, there's no justice, let alone a hit or how fast everything's coming. Until you see it live, and some guys just become good players instead of, oh, man, I thought that guy was going to be a great player in the NFL. Yeah, he's a good player. He started. I mean, he's a good player. But
did he dominate?
That he was going to dominate. So it was always kind of interesting to me. So I really lived on that and believed that and used that to my advantage as a player.
You said peaked in their talent. You know who hasn't peaked in her talent? The one-woman band that is sports over at Fox 17.
She did peak in her talent. She was a heck of a softball player,
Yes,
right?
she was. She was an ECU Pirate. Jill Jelnick of Fox 17 joins us next when Blaine and Mickey continue here on 104.5 The Zone. Hour one of Blaine and Mickey continues on 104.5 The Zone. Mickey a little under the weather today. Rhett Bryan in for him, alongside the hitman Blaine Bishop, and our next guest for this big segment of Hour One, Jill Jelnick of Fox 17. Glad you're with us today, Jill.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Fresh
Appreciate
off a vacation out on the West Coast, right?
That's right. Just got back from Southern California. Now getting mentally and physically ready for Titans training camp.
Had to recharge the batteries.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of that, real quick, before you go, Rhett, take us through like what you would do getting ready for the season for softball.
Oh, for softball? Well, actually, honestly, similar to kind of what I'm doing now. Conditioning, right? Got to get my conditioning up. Got to get my strength training up. But then mentally, definitely taking some time off, regrouping. And I also love homework, doing some prep, making sure I know my new guys, our rookies, everybody coming in, the Titans. Kind of like a slow build up. So then when it's finally here, boom, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
See? She's bringing it. I like it. All right, what do we want to talk to her about first? Because we have several things to cover.
Well, naturally, we have to go into the Filip Forsberg, which
Yeah.
is the biggest news, starting for the Predators, and what your thoughts were. And then just like, why did it
take so long?
This long, like, what would was it the no trade clause there? Who won in this whole deal too, by the way?
Well, that's a great question because, one, it did take a really long, concerningly long time, right? And we were trying to figure out, okay, whose side is the holdup? We actually had that no trade clause information out earlier than we got confirmed the number, right? General Manager David Poile confirmed 8 years. So we had that locked down. And then he also confirmed that there was a no trade clause. So then you had to assume, okay, it's got to be the money. There are a couple reports that came out saying that they're looking at something. Forsberg's company wanted high eights, Preds going low nines. Okay, they had to meet in the middle. Could assume 8.5 was where it was going to be, and sure enough, it was. Don Davenport confirmed that first thing Saturday morning. Shout out to Don, yeah.
That's right.
And so I think to me, it felt like for the better part of 6 months, we knew this was going to get done. It was always their top priority. David Poile made that very, very clear. And so just the last couple of weeks, the fact that it dragged on. Yes, it was concerning, but at the same time, I was like, okay, they're making sure they're getting this right. And Filip Forsberg said that exact thing today. He said, listen, this took some time because it needed time. This was something big that needed the attention, that really needed to make sure we were working out for both of these parties. And honestly, it sounds like it ended up being very amicable, both parties getting what they wanted. But Blaine, you asked who won in this? I'm actually going to say the Predators, because even though Filip Forsberg got his no trade clause, right, and that is not something that the Preds give out very often.
But on that point though, isn't it adjusted his last 2 years or something, or no? With his last 2 years, like I think there's a portion of that they can trade him if he agrees to.
He has to sign off on it.
Right.
Correct. So he has the power. He has a lot of power.
Right.
And he's getting his 8 years through 2030. That's incredible. But the reason why I think the Preds win in this, if you look at Filip Forsberg's market value today closer to $11 million. Preds getting him for 8.5. And that number, you can look online. One of the top NHL analytics, her name is escaping me right now, but she has Filip Forsberg coming in around $11 million in terms of market value. That is a big steal for the Preds, especially because he is their franchise leading goal scorer. So I think, yes, both parties winning. I mean, how about the fan base winning? You want to talk about who wins? The fan base, who not only loves Filip Forsberg, but now we have this clear-cut direction that the Preds are heading. And I think that's the biggest thing to take away from today in their press conference was the Preds now have a clear direction. Had they not been able to get that signed, we would be butting our heads being like, what now? And Poile and everybody in that front office was going to have to, figure out, we need to either rebuild. Are we continuing this competitive rebuild? I mean, it was a year ago that Poile used that term, competitive rebuild. Now, I love the fact that it feels they are the furthest thing from when he used that term last year. They have a clear direction. Forsberg is going to help this offense. I like where they're headed. Filip Forsberg said that today as well.
Do you think with the contract that he's just signed that now not only the organization but the fans should be expecting more out of him or the same?
Blaine, you were an athlete.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna turn this on you. When you signed a big, look at us pointing the fingers. I think when you get to a certain level of professional sports, when you are signing a contract, whether it's for a ton of money, $8.5 million, not as much, when you are extending your contract and your stability with the team, there is another level of expectation that comes with it, right? When you sign for more years, you sign for more money, that means more expectations. Yes, to answer your question, yes, the expectations are even higher now, but I also think that he put that on himself coming off a career year, right? I mean, 42 assists, 42 goals, careers for him. Also now 220 franchise goals for the Predators. Of course, there's going to be more expectations, but when you get to that level and you're a top athlete like Filip Forsberg, you rise. You know that, Blaine. You rise to the occasion. You go, okay, here we go. I got to step it up. And like you said earlier, when Rhett asked you about training, I just need to make myself better than I was the season before. And that's all Filip Forsberg is going to need to do.
There you have it. Jill Jelnick from Fox 17 here in Nashville.
All right, so we're a month out from the first preseason game, 1 month from tonight in Baltimore, training camp in 2 weeks. And I ask at the top of the show, what do we think some of the storylines are going to be 1 month from tonight as they start preseason game number 1, regardless whoever plays? And the first thing I would say to that, and I want to get your opinion on this, Jill, is I think the offensive line and the settling of positions there, because you've had some departures with, left guard and right tackle. So the wide receiving core, Ryan Tannehill's playing what it looks like in practice, because we know how the season ended. That's been a continual bad taste in Titans fans' mouths. That's just 3 I can think of immediately.
Yeah, I think, it's so funny. It's July 11th. You said 2 weeks till training camp, and that home opener, that season opener, it's going to be here before you know it. I'd like to think, hear me out, I don't think all storylines are created equal, right? You have your top fan fun storylines, which I'm going to go ahead and throw Tannehill into that, right? I'm going to throw Derrick Henry, right? I still think we're kind of going to be coming off the return of the king. Is he back full 100%? Are we going to see him that same speed that he started 2021 with? I think that's always a fun fan favorite. That will be something to follow just because he is the king. And then after that, I think those next level storylines are going to be those position battles, the ones that we've been looking at throughout OTAs, and the holes in that offensive line, right? Right tackle, left guard, who's going to fill the spot for Roger Saffold? Is Dylan Rayden's going to be able to step up this year? I think those are going to be major storylines. But you can't avoid this wide receiver group, right? The loss of, not just the loss of A.J. Brown, but young wide receivers and also a lot of question marks, specifically with their first-round draft pick, Treylon Burks. And, in the beginning when Treylon was out for, taking some breaks for rookie minicamp and then also OTAs, it was something that was developing, right? And we were keeping an eye on it. But then it became a lot bigger, and it became extremely concerning how much time their first-round draft pick was missing. Because now when he gets to training camp, he's got to be full speed 100% every single day. And if he's not 100% healthy, that's a major concern. So that one I think might end up being one of the biggest storylines going into the season, is not just Treylon Burks, but who are we going to see from this wide receiver core? And is Robert Woods going to be when is he going to be 100% healthy? I think he's going to be a great leader for this wide receiver core, but at what point do we say, okay, where are our expectations from Woods?
And Robert Woods got a lot of work in the OTAs, and probably more than we expected.
Agreed.
So I think the big question with him is, does he start the season on the PUP list?
Right.
On the physically unable to perform? Does that happen at all? And if that's not a thing, then there's your answer.
Correct.
Because he passes the physical all of a sudden, and they're getting ready to notch him up back to full tilt boogie to go. Blaine and I have talked about this on numerous occasions. I think the other big storyline in this, because the Titans defense is going to be one of the major storylines throughout this 2022 season because of what they have that has returned. You have 10 of 11 starters returning. I think Caleb Farley is the X factor topic in all of that. If Caleb Farley can get onto the field and be a significant contributor, though he may not need to be because they've got a lot of weapons, I think this Titans defense can go into a place where it has not been that special in quite some time. Blaine Bishop can speak to this because he did it. That first-generation Titans defense was one of the best ones in the National Football League, especially in the 2000 defense. And that's the year that they set the franchise sack record for 55 quarterback sacks. They went from 19 quarterback sacks in 2020 to 43 last year. And that's with a lot of injury situations and really not playing fluid with each other till that down stretch, last stretch of the season as they secured the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think that this Titans defense has a chance to break that franchise quarterback sack record. And if that's happening, I think we're talking about some special things here and keeping the offensive questions a little more at bay because they're keeping things tight and within scoring range.
Right. I completely agree with you. Bringing those front four back, re-signing Harold Landry Jr., that set the tone for that defense. And what I also love, all of those front four, they talk about it all the time, how excited they are to get back on the field to play together. You can just see and feel that chemistry. It's tangible between that group. And so to get them going again, I completely agree with you. I do want to say, though, they're facing some tough quarterbacks. We got some new quarterbacks they're facing this year, right? And they're going to be having to go after that number. You said hopefully break the sack franchise record this year.
55 is the record 55? They set in 2000.
You know what? I'm gonna ditto that. I'm gonna say this is the year, just because of this chemistry, because of them being able to build off
Simmons,
last year.
Danico Autry. And there's so many that they brought to the table in this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even though they're facing the AFC West and all those things, they learned last year how to rush 4 and cover with 7. That's how you beat Patrick Mahomes. They've done it. They've done it more than one occasion. And I think that's the key in all this is continuing to have that emphasis on rushing 4. And if you can do that and have the rest of the guys take care of business, I think you can have something there. And you can get some valuable wins in places where, unfortunately, Titans fans listening, you're not going to get the respect factor. The national people are going to pick them as they're going to be underdogs every week. And they're just going to have to go out and do it.
Well, with Jill Jelnick from Fox 17 here in Nashville, I guess to close out the Titans talk, and that is a surprise player that you're thinking about who most people say, oh, he's a good player, but may step up in the camp and you say, uh-oh, this guy's going to be an impact, whether his role is third team or coming off the bench, but they have a bigger role than expected. Who is that surprise player you think?
For me, I'm so excited about Austin Hooper. And I know that I know he was a big name, but actually I felt like his signing kind of went out under the radar a little bit. There were a lot of moves going on. Titans are getting ready for the draft. And he has impressed me very much since we've seen him in OTAs. His commitment, staying after every single practice. We saw him getting those extra reps with Tannehill. And he takes it so seriously. And several times talked about how his number one goal this offseason was building that chemistry with Tannehill, how much that takes time, how much that needs dedication. My favorite quote from him is, it's not as simple or going out to a magic dinner and getting to know your QB and then you're boom overnight. It's just going to happen. And he takes his job so seriously. And that is a position that the Titans are desperately in need of. And that the team has lacked that splash from the last several years.
And lastly, who gets a new contract and extension? Who will it be?
Jesus, I hope it's Big Jeff.
Hooker. No, I thought you was going to say Hooker. No, this kid, Big Jeff, of course.
It's got to be Big Jeff. Yeah. My favorite part about that press conference, he said, Big Jeff made it clear, I'll be at training camp. I'll see you at training camp. He said that several times without anybody even asking it. So I'm ready to see him at training camp, but we'll see when they're able to come to a deal.
The thing about Big Jeff, he was drafted 19th overall that 2019 draft off of the ACL that he tore
Probably
in
should have been a
pre-draft.
top 5, top 10
He'd be
pick.
top 5 in any draft since then, and maybe a few down the road. But he swore he would give everything he had, and he promised Amy Adams Strunk and the ownership and the coaches that he'd give everything. And that's what he's done, and I have no doubt that he'll come in, do whatever he needs to do. The guy's going to get paid, and it's going to be a monster contract because you just can't find him. There's another guy in the league that is the notch above him, and that guy's Aaron Donald. This guy's a unicorn other than that. And that's why I'm saying he's going to get paid.
It's going to happen. It's I hope.
Doubt. This amount of how much,
Exactly.
You can find her on Twitter at Jill Jelnick, and you can find her on Fox 17. Go ahead.
No doubt. But one more question before we let you
Okay, go.
College question. What's going on in college football? UCLA, USC,
Chaos.
the Big Ten.
Absolute
What's
chaos.
going to be the final verdict? I know you have the insight from the West Coast.
Oh, yeah.
Coming fresh from a vacation.
Calling all my people from the West Coast,
Yeah. So what's going on? Big 2, Big 3, where are we going?
We're headed in a We're headed to one. We're headed to one big super conference. Like I don't believe.
When you say one, do you mean Big 10, SEC, or just?
I think eventually it's not going to be this.
No.
It's definitely, we already have let go of Power 5, right? We're letting that go. That's going to be
Well, some of us slowly.
Right? I know. Sorry. The direction and the pace we're headed in seems like we're going towards one big super conference. Wow. And
It's gonna be like Jill. It's gonna be like 50 teams.
It's gonna be like 50 teams,
Crazy.
and then at that point, now with college football, you have the playoff form. At that point, why do we have conferences if it's even just one big thing, right? We're going into
It's like a March Madness bracket for football.
Yes, we're going to
I
uncharted
like
territory.
how you think, and then Nick Saban's going to retire, and he's going to be the commissioner
Yes,
of that
yes.
one league.
Oh, I
That's
like that.
where we're
That's
going.
good.
We're going to end on that, Jill.
She's on Fox 17. She is the lady that takes care of sports there, and you can find her on Twitter at Jill Jelnick. Jill, thank you for being
Guys,
with us.
thank you. I appreciate
Always great
it.
to have you in studio, too.
When we
Yes,
continue
just got
more
nicer looking,
of
too.
your questions and comments, if you want to call 615-737-1045. We're talking Vols recruiting. We're talking Filip Forsberg. We're talking Titans because that is around the corner, and so is the next segment of Blaine and Mickey here on 1045 The Zone. Blaine and Mickey roll on here on 104.5 The Zone, your home for the Titans and the Vols. Mickey a little under the weather today. Rhett Bryan filling in for him with BB, the Hitman, Blaine Bishop, as we finish up hour one. And we got the Ding Dong of the Week coming up here at 2:20.
Ooh, I can't wait.
And,
we may start early.
Yeah, it's that's going to be something right there. We always look forward to that. So Titans training camp begins in 2 weeks, and obviously we will have extensive coverage here at your flagship home for Titans Radio, 104.5 The Zone. I'm sure we'll have some shows out from training camp as that schedule will get released pretty soon. And the NFL season for the Titans just around the corner. So we got into it with Joel Jelnick of Fox 17 a few minutes ago. If you missed that, you can go back and find it on all your Zone podcast stuff. And we were talking about storylines that, will begin training camp and kind of flow through as they, go through cuts. And obviously offensive line and wide receiving core, those are some things that I think are going to be places that certainly fans are going to focus on, but I think they're going to be interesting to watch. And Jill also mentioned, she said Austin Hooper was a player to watch in this thing, and I think she's 100% right because they got him on a 1-year, $6 million deal that I think could lead to an extension if what happens with that between he and Ryan Tannehill and how he helps this offense goes like I think it does, because I think that's that's an element that was missing in that group. I'm excited to see Chiga Okonkwo, the rookie from Maryland, come into this thing because his frame and makeup, he reminds me of a Delaney Walker with the way he's built. Reminds me of some Jonnu Smith, too. Thick in the lowers and just a big, muscular dude.
The bigger guy, though, right?
Yeah. But I just, there's all kinds of storylines in this thing. What I want your perspective on, I want to ask you something. Let's peek behind the curtain for a second. When you had a training camp battle, and it didn't necessarily have to be in your group in the secondary, was that stuff talked about amongst teammates, or was it something you just kind of watched and maybe you commented to your buddy on the side? How'd that work?
You know what? That is an interesting. And nobody's ever asked me that. That is a great question. I didn't even know you're going to ask that today. That is something that is not actually talked about. Now, to your point, though, in the meeting room where you hitting the guy, like, he may take his spot, or you like, he looked pretty good, man. And then some guys will start joking, hey, you better watch out, man. You better turn your stuff up.
What got me to thinking about that?
That happens all the time.
You and I had a conversation in the hallway the other day about Drew Bennett. And you said Samari Rolle immediately saw the athletic prowess in him and said, hey.
In one-on-ones.
Don't sleep. This guy can play. Yeah. Don't sleep. If he keeps doing what he's doing, he can play.
Yeah, he gave him, called him, what did he call him, Sunshine? Yeah, because he was always real relaxed and, flip-flops, Cali guy.
Yep.
Right? And he was a quarterback that was converted to receiver. And Samari kept on saying, I said, hey, man, I keep seeing him on these releases. I'm trying to debate when I'm going to go against him. I got to know what I'm dealing with. I said, he looks pretty solid. He's like, oh, no, he is legit. I said, what? Like that? He was like, yes.
Athlete.
He said athletic. He says he can get off to him. He's quick, twitchy at the line, very aggressive natured there. None of these qualities follow a quarterback that was converted to receiver.
Right.
And then, he said it's athletic. So then I said, okay, I may wait a day. I'm going to look up his background. Find out he was a big-time volleyball player. Oh, now he's a jump out the gym type thing. I said, okay, I better make sure I choke him or I'm gonna look stupid out here.
Choke him.
Right? So, yeah, so to the point, what you're talking about, guys are on the sideline saying, hey, man, better watch out. This guy is pretty good, regardless of if he was undrafted or not. And he went to UCLA. I don't know if he even ever played quarterback. He was a backup for sure.
He was like the fifth string quarterback at one point? Because I forget who all
I
they
didn't know
had
if he
in
ever
front
got
of him.
in the game one time or not.
I can't remember.
I don't even know if
think
he
so.
even played receiver. Did he play receiver? He did his senior year.
Yeah.
But he was fascinating. He was the real deal for sure.
So
and it proved out as time went on, and not even just that year, really the next year where he was kind of more implemented, because I don't think they expected him to be what he was. I thought naturally they brought him to camp.
Sure.
So they thought there was some possibilities, but they were looking at his traits. Tall, long, athletic.
And he developed quicker than they even anticipated.
Right. And I don't know where he was working, beforehand. And besides that 1 year, he was at UCLA playing receiver. But it was obvious right off the bat to our corners.
I'm glad you answered that, though, because I figured it was kind of taboo to talk about that, about, hey, you think so-and-so's. Maybe it's a karma thing or whatever it is.
Well, I always use the example of Keith Bullock when he came in there. And we didn't need a linebacker. We had guys. We didn't need Keith Bullock.
And he didn't play a lot till year 3.
No. He did play his rookie year.
Well, yeah.
On defense, but he never started. Because but guess what? He was so good, they was like, we cannot have him not on the field, so we're going to put in a new defense called extra backer. Yeah, the extra backer was Keith Bullock. He was really playing safety linebacker, and we would put it in. And so,
which he did at Syracuse in both spots.
Was I would go to Eddie Robinson and go, hey, man, which one of y'all getting benched? So that was kind of how you would talk in reference about a player.
And he knew that you were joking, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, right. And Eddie goes like, well, it won't be me. Better go over there and talk to Favors or somebody.
Greg Favors. Wow. Oh, wow. All right. Yeah. As we roll on, more Titans talk, more University of Tennessee getting the recruiting classes. And they may have another recruit by the time we come back. But hour 2 of Blaine and Mickey with yours truly, Rhett Bryan, filling in for Mickey and Blaine Bishop right here. It comes back on 104.5 The Zone next.
Yeah.
It is 2:02. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Nashville Predators forward Filip Forsberg and general manager David Poile met with the media earlier today, making it official Forsberg's new deal with the Nashville Predators. Filip Forsberg discussed the one thing that's missing now in his career with Nashville.
The only thing we're missing is the Stanley Cup, and that's the main driver for all of us. I mean, that's the motivation in the summer. That's when you try to get better for. And individual stuff is fun and all, but at the end of the day, I want to sit back in the couch and look at a Stanley Cup ring, and that's my ultimate motivation.
The franchise's all-time leading scorer signed a deal of 8 years worth an average of 8.5 per season. We have naming rights changes in the NFL as Heinz Field is no longer. Heinz will not renew their naming rights agreement with the Steelers, which means Pittsburgh will have a new name for their home stadium for the first time in over 20 years. The stadium is now called Acrisure Stadium. And the Atlanta Braves have a big week ahead of them. They are red hot, 1.5 games back of the Mets in the NL East and about to take on the Mets for a 3-game series, starting tonight at home at 6:20. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Mickey Ryan is a little under the weather today. Rhett Bryan filling in for him as one half of Blaine and Mickey. Blaine Bishop right here, ready to roll with you through hour 2 on 104.5 The Zone. And Lucas just mentioned it in the update right there. So there's this story broke late last night that Heinz Field and the Heinz family decided not to carry on with the naming rights partnership with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's been Heinz Field from day one. It's no longer Heinz Field. It's Acrisure Stadium. Acrisure is an insurance company based out of Michigan. They are now the naming rights holder of that facility, and it's Acrisure Stadium. Doesn't even roll off the tongue like Heinz Field.
Since you're one of the best in the business, how difficult is it when you're in the broadcasting to now switch it up? And name you can practice all you want to, but kind of creatures of habit, even in broadcasting.
Oh, yeah.
To kind of change the name or get used to it, or will it take you a game or now, a couple times during that game to get it right?
Let me say this. I think it's harder for the home team because they've been calling it Heinz Field for 21 years.
Philadelphia when it changed.
Yeah, right. And then it was just the Coliseum for a while. And so, I mean, you're going to have to, and that's where you would probably, I know Mike Keith would do this, and I certainly would too, is I'd have it printed out in front of me in bold so that I could continue to reference it in my work area there.
Retrain your brain.
Yeah, you've got it. That's exactly what you have to do. For us going there to play there, it wouldn't be as big a deal because, we've seen those things change. Seattle's now Lumen Field, and like we're going to Buffalo in week 2, the Titans are to play part of that, triple header or double header on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. And that is now, I forget what it is now, but I just say Orchard Park, New York. Oh. It'll always be Rich Stadium or Ralph Wilson Stadium or whatever, but it has a naming rights partner too. It was New Era, and I think it's something else now. But that stuff changes constantly. But for the Pittsburgh folks, yeah, that's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, I mean, especially the brand that the Steelers are. It's always interesting when they change it because I think I'm always going to view that as Heinz Field. I won't be able to change it till I hear it as being not in Pittsburgh, hearing it from afar, probably on national broadcast, and see how well they do it. And as much as you train to not do it, I mean, you're also have to retrain, and that's always difficult. And I'm always interested to see who adapts is sooner than later when you're a national guy. No different than, let's just get this, Marcus Mariota, right? How many people still pronounced it wrong?
Mariota.
Right. Really, literally through his whole career, national guys.
Yep.
So you just never know how that all works out. But, man, I don't know. I think it's going to be in my brain. It's always going to be Heinz Field.
100%. And, the thing that's going to go away is in that south end zone, the closest to the river, is they had the giant Heinz ketchup bottle that would tilt down when they got into the red zone inside the 20-yard line. All that's going away. It's really kind of – now, I'll tell you one thing.
Did we play the Steelers this year? No.
No.
No. Good.
No. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Well, they do
the schedule's hard enough as it is.
Well, they do have a new quarterback, though, but they do play some tough quarterbacks.
Ooh.
I might want to take the quarterback
Listen,
there.
they start playing Sticks, Renegade, and running all those highlights. That place goes bananas. I remember one of the first times the Titans, you guys played there, was when the place was new, and you know it was. I want to say it was like a Sunday night or Monday night game or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they had the rock star, rock musician Donnie Iris, who's from Pittsburgh. He played the national anthem, and they had all this stuff going on.
Oh, that's who that was.
And I remember the first time that the Titans were up there and we were doing a game, and they did that package with Styx, Renegade, and played that song, and that place
them towels
erupted.
crazy.
Yeah, those terrible towels. It was a sea of those things. And it was normally after a big defensive play, you know, Troy Polamalu knocks something loose or whatever. But golly, I've never seen anything like it. And Acrisure Stadium just doesn't smack of that. It's very sterile sounding.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. But hopefully we won't be seeing a lot of them because they won't be doing so well. They'll be trying to figure out who's their quarterback. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. Who's the other?
Trubisky.
And Mitch Trubisky. Mitchell Trubisky. Yes,
and Pickett,
indeed.
Yeah, Pickett. Yep, so
wow. And Lucas informed me it's Highmark Stadium is what Buffalo. That's where Buffalo.
Oh, it's called the Highmark.
Highmark Stadium. So Titans will be there in week 2 in the early of the doubleheader for Monday Night Football.
That's a big rivalry amongst their fans. People don't understand here with Titans. I hope they do. The Bills we're one of their hated teams. Besides the teams that's in their conference, we are probably at the top of the list after that.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, they
and the thing is,
because of the history of the Music City Miracle.
I was going to say that's
even the year before that when I wasn't on the team. I mean, when they lost in the playoffs, that's where it really took on to a whole.
And that's to me one of the craziest wild card playoff games I'd ever seen was the 1993 wild card game with the Oilers there.
Yeah, it was wild to me. I turned it to the other channel. I was watching the Dallas Cowboys. I was a senior in college.
Yeah, because you thought, well, they got that. I mean, they're just boat racing.
Yeah, they were about 30. Was it 30?
Yeah, it was like a 28-3 proposition for the Atlanta Falcons versus.
I just now thought of this. You're gonna laugh at me. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. If that actually did happen, I might have not been an Oiler. Ooh. Reason why they fired the DC, hired Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan then drafted me. Well, him, Holloway, and
Mike Holloway, sure, the former general manager. You know, that's a great thought because
it just hit me.
Yeah, and I know that was a serious point of contention with you coming in as a rookie, talking to Chris Dishman and all those guys about how terrible that must have been.
I wasn't talking to them about that. Rookie year, my head was spinning. Hey, it's a pleasure meeting you. Can you give me any tips?
I'll never forget that game, though, because I watched it the whole way through. I did not turn it off, and I could not. I mean, they knocked Jim Kelly out of the ball game. Frank Reich. Yes, that same Frank Reich, kiddos, that is the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, came in and started slinging it around the yard.
That's unbelievable.
Andre Reed. Mm-hmm. Don Beebe.
Yeah, I think Andre Reed, every time I see him, I think he thinks I was out there. I was like, no way. Because he just goes, I go, no, I wasn't out there.
Try that with somebody else.
Yeah, but I fell for him, though, because we watched that on film. It was not just, those guys were not happy.
And then 6 years later, the Music City Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Checkmate, a little balance in the sheets there.
Yeah. And then just last year on the goal line, were we referencing who's going to get a new contract?
And you know what? And I'm so glad you brought that up because I watched that piece of film over the weekend.
What?
And watched that goal line.
You workaholic.
Oh yeah, I'm such a grinder.
You're walking the Bills.
But no, I that particular the goal line stand. Yeah. My goodness,
what a great play.
Jeffrey Simmons took that left tackle,
a grown human being, 300-something pounds,
Dixon, and dumped him back into the lap of Josh Allen, and it wasn't. Josh Allen didn't slip. There ain't no slippage there, buddy.
Yeah.
He came in there and knifed in there and blew it
up.
Oh, my goodness.
That was
I knew it was a big moment, and there was some confusion there for a second, but you started seeing Titans defenders going down to the other end of the, that they knew that they had stopped him. But golly, what a play. That's why you pay him right there.
Yeah, that's just not human, and that's why he's a special talent. And it was worth the risk on that one. He got that one right. We're talking about JR and Vrabel and crew. So and it panned out. And after he got to playing, he kind of showed after week 6 that even with probably his ACL not being fully healed, and still was disruptive that first year. And then now he's kind of coming into his own and being a dominant player, and it's awesome to watch what they've done for development and helping him to this point. I think he's already proven he can rush the passer. Now it's about coming up with pass rush moves because they're going to double him all the time. He's a force in the run game. He's always going to be that because that's the nature of his build and what comes easier to him. So once he
went to Von Miller's pass rush game.
Right. I think it's going to happen now where he becomes the modern version of Aaron Donald, which is fascinating. And I said on air that I would have gave him money over when we still had A.J. Brown if I had to make a choice because he's a generational talent. A.J. Brown was a Pro Bowl talent, and that's just the difference. They both were great players, but this guy like this doesn't come along very often.
Long range, I think that's one of the deciding factors in why you didn't pay an A.J. Brown.
I think so.
You're going to have to pay this guy, and you cannot find his replacement.
You may get him cheaper if you do it earlier, sooner than later.
Yep.
Because I think if he continues to play, then the numbers is going to start getting up to 25 or more, and that's
Blaine,
let
this sink in. Speaking of 25, he won't be 25 years old till training camp here in a couple of weeks.
You're still going to get him at his peak, at his best. You
25
pretty much, in my
years
mind,
old.
You peak between 28 and 30. Maybe 31, 30.
I think that's with a lot of in the NFL. That's the window.
Because you got that grown man strength. Now you got the knowledge, and you have the mindset and the confidence that you can dominate at your position.
And the application of all those 4 things you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And the rest, dominance.
Nice.
Wow.
It's going to be pretty cool to watch.
All right. You know what's going to be pretty cool to watch? The next segment here of Blaine and Mickey. It continues the storylines as we go through them, whether it's Titans, Preds, Vols, whatever it is. And you can call if you want to talk to us. 615-737-1045.
Oh, we're going to start the ding-dongs. We're going to start it up. We're going to start the ding-dong because I got some good ones.
The ding-dong of the week is next, and you won't want to miss it.
Ding-dong on streaming live right now, Lucas. See ya.
Blaine and Mickey roll on hour 2, 1045 The Zone. Rhett Bryan in for Mickey, who is a little under the weather today. Blaine Bishop right here as we roll through hour 2. Reminding you, 1045 The Zone brings you the Split Happens Bowling Bash at Brooklyn Bowl on, that's in Nashville. It's over by First Horizon Park. That's next Wednesday, July 20th. And it's a night you won't want to miss. We raise money for the church at Mount Carmel's Youth Summer Camp at Brooklyn Bowl with special guests for a fun night of bowling. All to benefit charity. Tickets include free bowling, bowling shoes, food, drinks, and raffle tickets. And you can get your tickets online by going to 1045thezone.com, as that is an event there that Buck Rising's putting on. Split Happens. So we hope to see you there. All right.
Yeah, I saw you're going to be there with your personal bowl now that you got your invitation. You got your bowling ball already ready to go.
Man, you should have seen last week when he got off y'all's show last Friday. He came in there all kind of, sheepish, and he's like,
"Oh, like the dog when he made a bad decision."
Yeah, he's like, "Man, I'm so sorry. I thought I tweeted. I texted. I said I wasn't in a text chain. I don't know what you're talking about." And I said, "You think about all the things I contribute to your show." And he goes, "I know, man." And I said, "I'm just giving you a hard time. Come on, man. I don't care. Whatever." I said, "But I'd be glad to go. It's fine."
You gotta go. Yeah. So you a big time bowler? You seem like
I'm not a big time bowler, but I do like to bowl. I haven't bowled in a long time, but I can probably give him a solid 110, 120, something like that. I could do okay. All right, Ding Dong of the Week is here. And let's go with you, Blaine, first. Who is your Ding Dong of the Week?
Well, I have multiple of, Ding Dongs. So, but I'm going to just give you one. So I'm going to start off this one huge, long Ding Dong, because this is just about the dingest of dongs that I could ever come up with. And I'm like, who did this? And that is on online betting odds to be fired.
The first coach fired in the NFL, right?
Yes.
In 2022.
Mike Vrabel was tied for 8th.
What?
I could not believe that. That's like
12 to 1 odds?
Coach of the year, play with all these different players. And he got an extension. So damn, after 1 year extension, I could get maybe 2 seasons. But man, I didn't get that one. And then he was tied with the Kingsbury. I said, so maybe they just went with the nice looking coaches.
I'm so
the
listen,
Vrabel and Kingsbury. They like, this nice
sold
guy
my
with the shadow.
cows.
We're gonna put them at 8.
I sold my cows. I ain't buying your bull. No,
I was
no
like,
way.
What? That
Matt Rule was the top of the list. The Carolina Panthers head coach.
That
I
makes
understand.
sense.
I understand that.
But I didn't think Vrabel should be on the list
Mike
at
Vrabel?
all.
No.
At all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So what
All
do
right.
you think about that ding dong?
Lucas, who is your ding dong of the week?
My ding dong.
I got another one that is references kind of ding dong.
Now, mine's just a little bit political.
Uh-oh.
Now, we don't get political on this show.
Wait a minute.
In a way, it's political.
Should this be on Super Talk FM 99.7 WTN, our sister station down the hall?
So,
he's all cheesy.
Hang on. Trust me on this. Now, Boris Johnson steps down late last week as the Prime Minister
of Great Britain.
Of England.
Yep.
And I saw this clip of his speech floating around, and I had to play this part back 3 or 4 times because I couldn't believe that he actually said this. This is near the end of the clip that I was watching of Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister of England.
But them's the break.
But them's the breaks.
Okay.
I've never heard a politician say, but them's the breaks, after resigning in disgrace. I thought that was one of the funniest things that I have heard in a very long time. Boris Johnson is my ding-dong of the week for saying, but them's the breaks.
All right, my ding-dong of the week plays right down the road I-40 in Memphis for the Grizzlies. His name is Ja Morant.
Yes, I got it.
I love Ja Morant. I think he's fantastic.
Me too.
But boy, did he make a ding-dong statement.
Oh, he did.
Brought up the conversation of Michael Jordan, and he said, quote, I would cook MJ. All right, play it. Play that audio from Ja.
I wish I played in his generation, though.
You wish you would have played in his generation?
Yeah.
Why?
I heard he was like just how he, go about the game, just that mindset he had. I would like to, play against him.
You know, yeah, this time you're not saying, I would have cooked her.
I would have cooked them, too.
You would have cooked Michael Jordan?
Man, nobody got more confidence than 12.
That's a little too much confidence for my liking.
Oh, I thought he added, though. Maybe it wasn't in the clip. I thought he also said if Michael Jordan played in today's game, he would just be a real good player and not a superstar.
Yeah, because he clumped a bunch of players together. He was talking about LeBron and everybody, and Steph Curry. Yeah, he kind of doubled down on it. But that guy's my ding dong of the week because easy there, Seabiscuit. You're talking about Michael Jordan. I mean, you're talking 6 world championships and one of the greatest to ever pick up the round ball. I watched him play many games. Let's take it easy there a second there, buddy.
I think MJ's game would have translated to today's modern athlete.
Are you kidding me? He was a freak.
Now, he may not been the big-time #1 guy, but he would have been amongst all the superstars.
He would have been mentioned in the names.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm like, no, I would have cooked MJ. Easy there, buddy.
Come on, man. Out of respect to MJ, you're like, hey, we had to we'll never know.
Ding Dong of the Week can be something you participate in at 615-737-1045. Let's go to Eric in Nashville.
Always
Eric, you're on with Rhett and with Blaine and for Mickey today. Who is your ding dong of the week, Eric?
Hey, guys, before I get to mine, guys, one thing, I don't know if you saw this last week, John Morant actually gave $500 to a waitress in Texas for a tip who didn't know who he was. And
yeah, I saw that.
That was a great video. That was really good.
That was her favorite player.
And then he said something really dumb after that we just talked about.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, guys, I've got 2 ding dongs. My first one is sports related and the second one is local. So my sports related ding dong goes to Kansas City pitcher Zach Greinke. You may have heard about this story. At a recent home game for the Royals, a young fan who loves the Royals and loves him as a player, all he wanted was his autograph. He had a baseball. All he wanted to do was get an autograph. So Greinke took the baseball and threw it as far and as hard as he could. The kid asked him, why did he do that? He looked at the kid and said, because I can, and walked off. And I've heard that's his M.O. That's the way he is. So he gets a ding-dong for that. Guys, my other ding-dong goes to the Nashville Tennessean. I don't know if you know what happened yesterday. So I just get the Sunday paper on this, and that's it. But it's ridiculous when the paper is as thick as the paper during the week and on Saturdays, and you're paying more for it. This is the 3rd time that has happened this year where the paper is like during the week. That's ridiculous. Tennessean, you need to get your act together because I went to a couple of different places and it was like that. So the Tennessean gets my ding-dong. You shouldn't be paying that much money if it's thick like during the rest of the week of the papers. Guys, y'all take care and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Eric. Thank you.
You better get you a Twitter account. Get your reading glasses
I saw that story about Zach Greinke, and it really bothered me because I'm like, don't do that to a kid, man. Kid just wanted his autograph.
I know.
And he threw the ball way over. Come on, man. Don't do that. Be better than that. And listen, the Tennessean, unfortunately, is a product of what the newspaper industry is today. I mean, it's not what it was, and it's not coming back to be what it was in terms of a physical paper you get on your doorstep. And I say this jokingly, but for years I've called it the Tennessean because it's tiny. The Sunday paper, oh my gosh, it was felt like it was 5 pounds when you got it out of the wrapper, thrown in the driveway because of the comic strips are there, but you had all the coupons for groceries and whatever, and it's just not the same. And unfortunately, it's not going to be.
Fortunately, that's where this world's going, and so
that's the way it is. It's just what it is.
If you want, you got to get your Twitter account. Come on, Grandma, get your Twitter account.
Let's go back to the phones here at 615-737-1045. Philly Mike, you're on with Rhett and Blaine. Who is your ding dong of the week?
Can't be Lucas.
You do a great job, man. I would have to say the ding dong of the week has to be Mark Jones of ESPN TV during the Summer League games out there in Vegas, particularly when the Lakers were playing. LeBron had showed up, and every 30 seconds the camera was going over to LeBron. There's LeBron in the first row. There's LeBron shaking someone's hand. There's LeBron over and over again. We get it. He was there. It was just too much, man. That's all I got, brother.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, they even went over to LeBron and saw that he had his snacks in a Ziploc bag. That he brought his own snacks. Yeah.
The only thing I saw.
When he paying his chef, he wanted to make sure he eat the right snacks.
The
only thing I saw,
like almonds or something.
Yeah,
a little better than the healthier than the popcorn, I guess they got at the concession.
the only thing I saw was him talking to Vanderbilt head basketball coach
Stackhouse.
Jerry Stackhouse,
Yeah, I did.
and their exchange there. But yeah, that's when the big guy shows up. I guess that's just kind of how it goes.
He's the number one player. I get it, but it probably was a little too much.
All right, Joseph and Smyrna at 615-737-1045. Who is your ding dong of the week?
Guys, ding dong belongs to Vincent Kennedy McMahon, paying $12 million in hush money, which is more than what he paid for WCW as a company as a whole.
Wow. All right, Joseph. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Mr. McMahon, I think
the radar.
is.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it's that's a thing. I don't know how much longer he's going to be running the World Wrestling Entertainment Company.
Like that?
Yeah, it's not great.
Oh.
Not great.
Ruh-roh.
Reports are that there's hush money involved, and that's right. He's right. That is more than he paid for World Championship Wrestling when he took him over in the late 90s. So early
on a
2000s.
better note, I retweeted, speaking of wrestling,
Yep.
Jeff Jarrett and him and Zach Peeler going at it, wrestling.
I saw
I retweeted that. Yeah, that was awesome.
20
Fred Miller
years ago.
And Mr. Frank Wycheck was there.
I
too,
saw
as
them
well.
sitting there.
That was
Yes,
awesome.
I remember. Man, and Zach, man, he must have been just ready to roll because I was like, that's a work right there, and you got to be careful with that stuff. And I'm sure Jeff is like, hey, man, you might want to just ease up just a little bit.
Well, he was preparing for his second life. For just second possession. Hey, you did not mess with Zach Peeler.
Oh, my gosh.
He had some claws, and he was like a big bear. You're like, don't mess with that dude. He was strong as an ox. I'm serious now. There's D-Line used to say, hey, man, Zach Peeler's strong. You better watch out.
And he was. He really was. That's what this offensive line needs going into 2022, Blaine. They need somebody to plug in at left guard.
Yeah, if not, somebody's going to give the ding-dong. They're going to bet on that ding-dong list. If they don't go out there and block, they better watch out. Old King can't go nowhere. There's some blocking.
There's a good piece that Jim Wyatt at TennesseeTitans.com has out right now that he dropped earlier today about Aaron Brewer not being the forgotten man in this. And, he's a little undersized. He's 6'1". I think he was 275 when he came out as an undrafted free agent out of Texas State. He's now at 290, and he wants to be – he's putting his name in the hat, so to speak, for being that left guard by the time this thing's all done, and they're playing the Giants on September the 11th at Nissan
start
Stadium.
turning on the tape. Size don't matter now. He's got a shot, and every time he gets out there, he stands tall. So I have to give it to him. Yeah, he definitely should be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Good piece on Jim White. I think he believes that he can win it if given the appropriate fair shot.
And I think the thing I like about Brewer is Aaron is versatile. I think he could play center in a pinch if you needed him to, and can be a swing person like that. And when you're thinking about this, you're certainly looking. Corey Levin has come back for his second tour of duty in this. I think he's a guy that you need to watch when we're talking about all these battles. And then the right tackle position, is it Dylan Rayden who gets in that thing, or does Nicholas Petit-Frere, the rookie from Ohio State, start? And there's a battle there between that and maybe a veteran, for right tackle. There's some things that are unsettled. We know that the left tackle is going to be Taylor Lewan. We know that the center is going to be Ben Jones. And I think the other thing that nobody's talking about on this Titans offensive line is Nate Davis going into the final year of his rookie deal. So it's a contract year for him. And I think he'd be the first person to tell you he was not the same player in 2021. It's a guy that had COVID twice last year, and it affected him physically, mentally, respiratory-wise, the whole deal. And that's a guy that
he had an injury too, right?
That's right. And that's a guy that looked different when he came. He worked out on his own during OTAs and getting his stuff straight. And then he was there for minicamp. He looked like a different dude. That's a guy who he kept the weight, but he put on muscle. He had hired a nutritionist and a cook and those things. And you can tell he's serious about it. And, if this Titans offensive line can have closer to a 2020 version of Nate Davis at right guard than 2021, that's obviously going to be a great thing for this Titans offensive line because the symmetry and the osmosis that goes on with that group of guys. And if he's good at right, then that's going to make whoever's at right tackle better, and that's going to make Ben Jones better than he is.
So
they all kind of work
together.
Win
the job?
At right tackle I think it'll be Dylan Rayden's. I really do.
Okay, and who left guard, who you think wins?
Right now, I think it's Jamarco Jones's to lose, who they brought in as a free agent.
Right, from Seattle, right?
Right. And Aaron Brewer, I wouldn't disagree with you, I think has a chance to really compete for that. I think that's going to be hashed out. But, as it stands right now, in my mind, Jamarco Jones at left guard and Dylan Rayden's at right tackle. And the thing about Dylan Rayden's, there's a really good interview that he did with Mike Keith on one of the OTP podcasts a few weeks ago, just talking about acclimation. And all he'd ever done was play left tackle at North Dakota State. He did that 32 games, protecting the blind side for Trey Lance, who's with the 49ers. And learning that right tackle position is really, that's you can't just plug and play. I mean, that's a learning curve right there. And so he was very candid about that. But you could tell in the OTAs and in minicamp, there's no hesitation there. He knew where he was supposed to line up and where he's supposed to be in positioning and footwork. And now it's just doing it. He's got the thing. It's like you were talking about a guy getting into the 28 to 30-year-old range. There's a smaller sample size of that where he's got the knowledge and he's been around the block for a season now, and now it's application time for all of those things.
Yeah, because I think one of his coaches were saying he was overthinking things because he was a sharp kid. And sometimes he overthought what he was doing, playing multiple positions. That before they kind of moved him to just right tackle. So hopefully that'll be behind him and he'll be ready to rock and roll. But I like what I saw doing preseason. For what it's worth, it was preseason, but I thought he looked pretty good. And the games he got into the regular season,
he had the game at left tackle against Nick Bosa and held his own just fine.
Just for that alone, I gotta say, well, we can build on that.
Absolutely, there's something to move on from, and we're going to move on and wrap up the final segment and the final hour of Blaine and Mickey with me, Rhett Bryan, Blaine Bishop, right here,
and ding dongs.
Hey, ding dongs, they continue to come in.
I got one more.
We'll do that next on 104.5 The Zone. Final segment of Blaine and Mickey here on 104.5 The Zone on a Monday in July the 11th. Hard to believe it's already this far into the year, Blaine Bishop.
You can't wait. You can't wait for the party to get started. Huh?
I'm ready.
Ooh.
I'm recharged and ready to go. I've been in the salt mine over there in my studio working on stuff.
Taper it down.
Keep your powder dry.
Yeah, that's exactly what I used to have to do. We don't play tomorrow. Can't a couple weeks away, man.
Trust me, I got plenty to do between now and then. So I've got a lot to temper that expectation. But yeah, I'm excited. You know me well enough. Watching y'all's defenses over the years.
That's some pretty good ones. Our year.
My gosh.
What was the 08? What was it?
Yeah, the one that had KVB and Albert and Tony Brown and yeah. But I'm really excited for the Titans defense as what they could be in this thing because it all is around Big Jeff and Byard on the back end. I just think there's something special there.
Well, I think we must not forget safeties can only do so much, and the D-line can do a lot to really help your defense in all kind of manner. The cornerbacks are still young. Now, they're up and coming, and I think underrated. But one side may, you may want, you got Fulton, stay healthy, but is it going to be McQuarrie or Farley,
Right.
And how well does that transition? You think it'll be good, but when we looked at the stats, they were 25th in pass defense, and I didn't think that they were that down the road. So I'm thinking, okay, now they got to get that up to in the team,
right? That's right.
Matched up with that front four,
I think the good thing is that with a Christian Fulton and an Elijah Molden, especially. Those guys saw a lot of playtime very early on, especially Elijah Molden. I mean, you talking about getting an education. He got an education.
He got an education. Then he was deciding he's going to get an education on the sideline, then back out there to get some more education. But that's okay, though. That's how you learn.
But that pays dividends, especially when we talk about you going into camp and those things, the years you were playing back in hour one of the show. It's, taking that knowledge and then it's the application of said knowledge and continuing to improve and learn and wanting to. And I think Elijah's a bright young guy. And you're right. This secondary, it's some young guy. I mean, you take Byard out of it and all of a sudden, well, first of all, Buster Screen is the elder statesman because he's been around so long.
He's a kind of a jack of all trades guy.
Hooker is kind of the old man in the group when you take those two out of the deal, man.
I hope
and Amani Hooker, I think, is going to. He should. Listen, he's made steps every year, and he really made a big step forward last year, becoming a starter beside Byard back there. And I really like his game. He seems to be dialed in. But yeah, I'm really excited at the prospect of this Titans defense for sure. You had another ding dong of the week. That's what I want to
just to
talk
close out.
about.
Anybody have a ding dong? 737-1045 the Zone, but I have to end with this ding dong of mine, and it's not really my ding dong. It is Zach Wilson's ding dong. Good Lord, what are you doing, bro?
Oh man. That is a social media nightmare over the weekend.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I wanted to. What the heck is going on here? He had an affair, I guess, I don't know when, but with his mother's best friend. And his girlfriend dumped him, and now she's dating his friend from his former roommate.
Yep. Zach Milne, the tight end for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
And they posted a picture on the beach together or whatever it was. And
so much for that baby face. Don't let him fool you. Watch it. Somebody posted, oh, yeah, he's a killer now. He's got the dog in him.
The cougar on the prowl.
Oh my.
The cougar.
All kind of jokes were there. But
oh, my goodness. But, yeah, and the thing is his Zach Wilson's mother is a social media influencer, and she has basically gone dark crickets in social media world now that she's found out through the ex-girlfriend of Zach Wilson that
you messed around with her best friend.
Her best friend. Oh, wow.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe they were leading to a new reality show.
It's got all the makings of one.
We're going to turn this ding-dong into something positive.
It's got the makings of one for sure. I mean, I started seeing all that yesterday. I'm like, what in the world is going on here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Who was it, TMZ?
I can't remember.
I saw them
it
take it
from
down.
several different people.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is the same Zach Wilson that beat the Titans last year.
Yeah, yep, he did. I was thoroughly impressed with him as well as their team. They need to get some more weapons, but that was a game. A.J. Brown didn't play, right?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's when we needed. I think this was the downfall. What's the Reynolds kid who was injured?
Josh Reynolds.
And then he got out there, and then he could have made this spectacular catch that he missed.
Yeah.
It would have been a tough one, but I thought it was one he should have made. He got his paws on it. And I think that was kind of the beginning of the end, at least here with the Titans. He did a good job with the Detroit Lions there, matching up with his former quarterback. But, that was a game that it showed that their defense was stopping the Titans in the red zone, and I thought that was the difference in the game. I think it happened 3 times. They kicked 3 field goals in the red zone, and that's why they really lost the game.
And there was a moment in the season where we thought this is the one that's going to bite them in the rear end, the Titans, that is.
I thought it might have. And then Fulton injured his ankle, and he kept trying to play with it during that game. He was actually playing well until that point. So, there was a lot of factors into that. Yeah, they didn't play with it. The Jets' defense was legit, though.
They were.
Oh, man. They had 2 safeties out, and they played well. All of their front 4, I like what I saw on defense. And Saleh, their head coach, that's kind of his background. So if they get the offense right, they're going to be something to deal with. They get some more weapons. I'm sure they did in the draft, and protect him a little bit better, and he continue to evolve and get better and quit being a ding-dong. I think they're going to be all right.
Hey, on the way, Ron Slade, Brent Doherty, and Miss Breaking News herself, Dawn Davenport.
I know.
3HL is just ahead, and in the meantime.
And in between time.
We're going to say